The opinions expressed in the following program are not necessarily those of Eastlink Community TV, its sponsors, or partners.
All right, and we're back with another episode of The Unlikely Innovators. My name's Steve Gravel, and I'm joined, as always, by Mike Comito.
You remembered.
Yeah. Your name was escaping me, but I did eventually come around. And today we're joined by Marla Tremblay, who is the Executive Director of MineConnect. Marla, thanks so much for coming on the show.
I'm grateful to be here. Thanks, guys.
That's great. So we've looked through your bio, and a few things sort of bubbled to the surface that few people may know about you if they know you just from MineConnect, and that is something that keeps coming back around is like community, local business, SMEs. How did you start to get interested and get into helping, communities through economic development?
Interestingly enough, another thing many people don't know is I actually studied tourism. So there we are.
Interesting.
We did come
I
across
started
that.
my career in tourism, and first gig was working for an outfitter, and from there I ended up running a chamber of commerce, which then immediately engages you with businesses,
Yeah.
right? Small
Right.
businesses, and that was in West Nipissing. And running the special events for the community, which they had many back then. So I'd run maybe 10 a year, which was insane. Me and one other person. So I'm very accustomed to this small team,
Yeah.
too many things to do role. So that was really kind of my first introduction, I guess, into helping SMEs. Then went on to work with the CFDC, which is also supportive of community and SMEs, and kind of continued my career like that. And then eventually worked at the City of North Bay in economic development. So I know many people, and people wonder why I know the cities so well. That's why, because I worked with them on all of the cities in Northern Ontario on a regular basis, and just ended up taking mining as one of my portfolios when I was in North Bay, and then it kind of evolved from there. So yeah, and then I branched out into my own business in 2012.
And what is it that you like about sort of the small business aspect that sort of draws you to that space?
Quite a few things. I like I've always been attracted to ambition, right? That I don't consider myself a big risk taker. However, when I think back on my career, I took a lot of risks. So I guess I am. I'm not that gambling type of risk taker, but I'm, what's the term? Educated risks, I guess you could say. And I feel like business people, they do take risks, and I find that attractive. But as long as they make it in a smart way, which is where kind of people like myself come in, is we can help them along that way.
Yeah.
So that I find interesting, and I also find the SMEs are the bread and butter, or the core of the economy in Canada, and especially in Northern Ontario. They create jobs. Most of the jobs, really, that are not government or institution are SMEs, right? And they're the ones who are really supporting the economy, and not only the economy, but the community, from a hockey team, arts. You go to a play, you can't have a play without a SME that supported it, whatever it may be, the hospitals. Everything in a community is happening because SMEs have contributed. So that I find very attractive as well.
You like hockey? Is that why she referenced
Well,
it?
maybe.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Have you ever brought it up on the show? That's something.
You don't let me bring it up
That's
on
a
the
side
show,
of you
that's
no
why.
one knows about.
I did want to go back with the tourism piece, though. What kind of work were you doing with the outfitter, and where was this?
On Anticosti Island,
Okay.
which is an island in the St. Lawrence Gulf.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, so I had a baby when I was very young. A lot of people don't know that about me either. I never used to share that, but now I'm like, you know what, why not?
Absolutely.
It's part of my life. It's part of, one of the risks I took was leaving her here and going out there to take on a co-op. It was an internship we were able to select from when I was studying. And the teacher, or the dean, I guess, at the time said whoever got the best grades could pick of all of the internships which one they wanted. And I ended up with a 4.0. Yay me.
Yeah.
I was very driven. A baby will do that to you.
Yeah.
And I selected this internship to work out in Anticosti Island. I did full summer there, and then they brought me on doing all their trade shows. So I've been doing shows a while.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of did those first shows when I was 21. I was doing international shows, repping for them because I was bilingual. I was female, which was, we're talking a long time ago, and it was very much hunting, fishing, so it was attractive to the booth to have a female in the space. And I knew my stuff, so yeah, I started doing that and kind of continued on in that path. So I worked there for a couple of years. and I was a guide. I was doing running all kinds of flights and all types of logistics and kind of jack of all trades type of person on site. So I guess maybe that's where this craziness started.
I was going to say, maybe it's
didn't know
not
that
all that
about you.
unlikely. I think there's a thread that kind of runs throughout the
I'm
different
learning things
jobs
about
and-
myself as I sit here.
Yeah, but we wanted to talk to you a little bit more about getting into mining. You mentioned obviously that it was part of your portfolio in a previous role, but just talking about the transition, obviously a lot of these companies you would have worked with in your previous role, you know, at the Chamber of Commerce or with the City of North Bay, but what was it like transitioning into that world?
Well, it was interesting, needless to say. In economic development, though, that was, you know, I've been doing that for quite a while too. I started that role in 2004, I think, at the city. Economic development itself was very heavily male-dominated. So was hunting, fishing. So I was accustomed to that piece. But I had many, many portfolios at the city, and mining was one, and so was economic development for all of the Northern Ontario projects, which a lot of them touched mining. That's kind of how that happened, and I went to my first PDAC in 2006, I think, 2005, so I've been going for a while, and really enjoyed the innovation side of things. It wasn't just like SMEs are really cool, but seeing SMEs come up with novel ideas to help address challenges was really interesting to me. So I found that appealing, let's say, and then just by nature of who I knew and the network I had and the nature of the economy in Northern Ontario, it was kind of a natural fit. So when I left when I left that role, I took the risk, I guess, to start my own business. A lot of the work I had was in tourism for obvious reasons, community development, and then in mining, the mining side. And actually, that's when James Franks, who many of you know from the City of Timiskaming Shores, approached me and said, "Hey, I've got this idea. What do you think? Can you help us out? You know everybody. Let's do this." So, and I had the skill set of kind of that communication side, and I also had done enough shows that I knew what I was doing on that end, and I had organized a ton of events. So it just was a natural fit, and then it just evolved from there, working specifically in that field. So. It's been an exciting field to work in. I love the industry. I'm very passionate about it for many reasons. Like I said, the innovation, the new and interesting ways that we're affecting the planet, and the shift. I've seen a big shift as well from not just the green things, but the safety side, the Indigenous side. It's really interesting to watch that evolution. And it's an industry that is, people find it slow, but compared to other industries I've worked with, it's not as slow as people think. Things are actually happening, and I've seen those changes, much like technology. A lot of them happen in a fairly short period compared to the first 10 years I was in it, and the last 5, I've seen a significant change. And then when we speak about being the woman in the room, back in my first PDAX, there weren't very many of us. The odd geologist or that side of the coin, but there weren't very many women, and it's really, really encouraging and great, frankly, to be not the only one in the room. It's a little, and even just the way we're treated has evolved. It's still not awesome. There's still room to grow,
Right.
but it's been a significant change compared to those first days. So
And I think we're gonna take a break now, but when we come back, we're gonna talk more about MineConnect and a few other topics. Right back with Marla Tremblay. All right, and we're back with Marla Tremblay from MineConnect. You've been at the helm for about 4 years now. And you've been very present, and everyone sees, Marla Tremblay and MineConnect are becoming synonymous. And I wanted to ask you, in that 4 years, people might think, oh, she's seen it all. Has there been anything about the role that surprised you that you could share with us?
It's been an interesting evolution. I was speaking earlier about the industry has evolved, but MineConnect has evolved significantly. It was formerly SAMHSA, it was Sudbury-centric. There was, that interim period where Paul Burdette, who many know from the province, was seconded from the province to help expand it to the north. I was on the board, to where we are now. We used to have to really knock on those doors and convince people, you should be part of this. And now people are knocking on our doors. So the surprising thing is how fast it's happened. a brand doesn't typically only take a couple of years to build. And I think we've been pretty successful in taking it from something that nobody ever heard of to being places internationally, and people, oh, I've heard of MineConnect. And we're like, what, really? Great, you know, so obviously we're doing something right. So that has been surprising, that we've been, I guess, and people saying, oh good, we're excited that this is happening finally. Not that SAMHSA wasn't good, because they had a huge role to play. The cluster was really important. It was the kind of that first step towards something bigger. But even, you know, I go to Quebec, and Quebec, sometimes the folks there, when can you expand to Quebec, or when can you? So it's that natural, that has surprised me, that others have been so welcoming, I guess, even in other areas. And then the other thing that's surprising, well, I don't know, what else has been surprising? It's an interesting question.
Well, even about the industry, I mean, is there anything that's been surprising? Or maybe that people aren't aware of as much, the work that MineConnect does?
Oh, there's tons of stuff that we do that people have no idea, right? People think, oh, it's interesting, as a member or even a non-member, you know what you know based on what you do, so how you participate. If you come to our events, maybe that's all you know that we do, because that's the way you see us. Other people see us as the one who brings incoming missions, because they're the people from outside coming in. So we're that connection to other government or other companies from that perspective. So it just depends on where you sit and how you use the organization. And use is probably not the best word, but take advantage of what we offer, benefit from. But there's so many things that a lot of our members don't take advantage of, which is a little bit disappointing. You know, our member portal, there's so much content there, resources like crazy, all of the hiring stuff and funding and information about what's going on in the industry around the world, all that's there. There's a map, click Australia, I'm interested there, click what's going on there. So every time we find something new, we load it there, and it's available for no extra cost to our members, but it's not being used enough. So things like that we do that people have no idea, and it's like, okay, guys, we're trying to give you what you're asking for, but then you're not. And that's very typical of a member association, right? Like chambers of commerce. We can all say that. I've been involved in many, many not-for-profits, whether it's been on a board or whatever, doing projects for, and it's a very, very common thing. So we're just constantly asking our members what could work. One thing that I have found surprising is how certain things, even in Northern Ontario, work in some cities but don't in others.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we'll have, like in Thunder Bay, a business breakfast works awesome. We get droves of people, they all show up. We do a business breakfast in, you know, another community, Sudbury, for instance, mid, right? Where, you know, where you'd think, geez, there's so many people, why wouldn't they? But it just doesn't work in this community. So it's figuring that out and taking the risk and with member money, right? Like, it costs money to put these things on. We'd like to just break even, but sometimes we lose money because we think it's going to work because it worked somewhere else. So that's been interesting. Especially in the north, you would think it'd be pretty similar. Even like North Bay to Sudbury, there's some differences, and that's like an hour and a half difference.
For sure.
So you know that's been an interesting thing to observe.
And I guess you have to do it to find those different proclivities out.
Exactly. Right? So I have to remind the team, you know, don't get disappointed if only 30 people show up. We have to try it. If it works, great. If it doesn't work, great. You know, we've hosted roadshows in like Temiskaming Shores and had 80 people show up and get the most sponsors we've ever had. And then we struggle to get sponsors for, I don't know, an event in Timmins, right? Like it doesn't seem to make sense. It doesn't seem logical. However, we just need to figure out what works in those areas that may not work in others.
You'd mentioned earlier about the evolution of MineConnect, you know, starting off with SAMHSA, getting away from just the Sudbury-centric model. And Steve and I were at Mine Expo in Las Vegas in 2024, and I think that was when you announced that, you know, MineConnect had reached an agreement to expand its reach into other parts of the province. Just wondering if you could reflect on that, and also what's next, because you mentioned earlier, you alluded to the Quebecers saying, like, when are you coming to Quebec? Can you share with us what the plans are for MineConnect to grow further?
Break some news for us.
Well, I don't have any news to break, but I can say, you know, yes, we announced that we were going to go province-wide, and we have begun that process. I mean, it is a process. Some of the challenge there is we don't have a body down there, right? And we need to find, and that's been a challenge, trying to find someone. As we all know, it's not easy to find people and competent people, and, you know, specific to a role that we'd be looking to fill to cover off that part of the province, you need to have some industry background, which is also difficult, and a network. So most of the people that already do that have jobs, so and good paying jobs. So that's kind of been a bit of a challenge. So we've been making inroads in different ways, working with chambers of commerce and working with economic developers councils of Ontario to talk to municipalities, and a little bit like we did when we went from just Sudbury to the north, is talking to the people on the ground to help push people to us. And really making some more connections with government, which we've made a huge inroads in the last 6-8 months-ish. And not that we didn't have good relationships before, but we've gone from being the person, we see each other at everything, we sometimes get input into things, to them contacting us on a regular basis, asking for input on different things that the government is doing. So that's been a huge shift, and I think we're going to be able to continue doing that and working with the OMA and some of those organizations. As far as future growth, I think we really need to continue to solidify that Southern Ontario piece. My personal challenge is that I like things to happen quickly. And then I think back, it took us 4 years to do it for the North, and that's knowing everyone. So I need to be okay with understanding that it's going to probably take longer. But that's difficult for someone like me who's very let's go, So so that's a bit of a challenge, and even from the board standpoint, telling them look, we need to consider all of those things, and we need those folks to also help bring people on and spread the word. So it's really going to be focusing a little bit more on that side of things and being okay with it. And even, like I said, learning from what we've done, streamlining our approach to even the North. Where do we spend our time and our money to make it most beneficial for the membership, while keeping ourselves sustainable, and it takes money to make money, which is also a struggle. And that's one of the neat parts, is our board of directors is all business people, which I love. No offense to people who are with institutions or with the government.
Just talking about you.
Well, it's when you're in business, you don't have time to sit around and talk about whether your logo is green or blue, right? You want to make intelligent choices. You're there as an advisor for industry. So that is incredibly beneficial to people who are qualified to do their jobs. They let us do our jobs and we do our work. But the challenge is when they look at a financial sheet and they don't see us making money at the end of the year, we're like, no, that's the point, guys. That's the point. We're not trying to make a bunch of money here. We're trying to do more for the membership and break even. That's the intent.
You want us to spend the money.
Yes, you want us to. So that's an interesting dynamic, I guess. And even for myself, I'm like, oh, But
We're going to take one last break, and then we're going to have a little bit of fun with some questions for Marla Tremblay. All right, we're back for the final segment with Marla Tremblay here on The Unlikely Innovators. I've been debating how to put this, because this is such an important part of your job, but you are legendary at throwing parties at these events. And I say parties in not like a negative connotation. They're great social mixers. Networking events. What's the secret to a good event?
Oh, there's so many. Location is incredibly important.
Right.
People forget, for instance, when you've been in a trade show floor all day, the last thing you want to do is go to some closed off hotel meeting space with no windows. It kind of right? Because you've been kind of trapped in a space all day, so you want to mix that up. So, for instance, at PDAC, we do the thing at the steam whistle. In French, we say ça change le mal de place. It kind of switches your mindset a little bit to, yes, we're still at work, but we're able to let our hair down a little bit and be a little bit social. So that's incredibly important. So location is key. I don't know if you've ever noticed, have you ever been to an event I've put on, a social event that hasn't been that's been in one of those rooms?
No.
Never.
Not ever.
No. Ever. I've done them on boats. I've done them in breweries. I've like at museums. We've done outdoor stuff. We've done all kinds of things, but never in that type of space. So that's incredibly important. Granted, for those types of events. So that's important. And understanding, lighting is important. It's surprising. If it's a big bright fluorescent, too dark, it's awkward. So it's all of those little things that you wouldn't think about, right? And the type of music for the event, all those little things are really, really key. Making sure that if there's going to be speaking, tight.
Yeah.
But it's hard sometimes to rein in speakers.
Especially politicians.
Right? That's why I never have politicians typically at socials. Unless I have to.
Right.
And some of them are fantastic. I've seen some that are, I've had like, Vic Fideli, great speaker, tight, understands.
Very tight.
Greg's pretty good too. Greg Rickford, pretty good. Like
great dresser, by the way.
Yeah, well, right, always great dresser. But gets that this isn't the moment to go on and on and on.
Yeah.
This is the moment to speak, say what I have to say, move on. And the mayor is great here. The mayor, Paul, he's fantastic as well. You need to understand that. So it's who makes the most sense for the audience you're going to have, and what do you do afterwards? Another key thing, don't order too much food. If you're ever putting on an event, half of what you think, people. Half of what you think.
Really? That's interesting.
Always.
I'm always
because you can never eat as much as you think because you're talking to people, you're shaking hands.
Never. Half of what you think.
Yeah.
Because what do you do, especially if it's an out-of-town event? You're not taking food home.
You can't, and they won't let you.
Yeah, exactly.
It's illegal. So it's because they're worried about liability, all that. It's usually a huge part of your budget.
Yeah.
So always half of what you think, and don't let the venue force you to get per head amounts.
Right.
Say no. I want 2 platters. Pick things you can get on a platter. Pick the amounts. That's it.
Yeah.
Done. You can always order pizza.
Yeah. See, she's a pro.
Of course.
Yeah.
And you mentioned the show floor. One of the questions we wanted to ask you, we were talking about this on the way over with, we go to the Northern Ontario Mining Showcase every year at PDAC or if it's at CIM. How do you find the balance between, knowing that we're beholden to exhibiting well for FedNor and our other funders with, making people feel, warm and engaged, but also if you have to drop the hammer and say, like, you weren't at your booth today, like,
how do you do that?
Because you have to answer for that, right? I think people sometimes think, I need to be here today, but it's like, but they're taking a spot for somebody else and someone's going to ask you. So how do you kind of blend that?
So a couple things. We do, and throughout the years, we've learned different things, right? So we provide things to our exhibitors to help them with that.
Yeah.
So the little clocks, I'll be back at.
Sure.
That's huge. And I wish more exhibitors would use them. We're providing this service because as an exhibitor, you're the one who is losing out.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I'm not losing anything. Yes, I'm going to get in trouble because the exhibitor wasn't there, but whatever. I mean, I can't force that. All I can do is talk to the person after. And honestly, some of the companies we've had to tell you're not coming back.
Yeah.
You took a booth. It's been a couple of years now. There's never anybody there. You're out.
Yeah.
Sorry, we're not just a place for you to put your coat.
Yeah.
Somebody else wants that space that's going to take advantage of it. There's been some we've had to reprimand, and then they're like, oh my gosh, and then they make sure to bring in extra staff. Sometimes it's because it's a very small company, and we understand they're there alone.
Yeah.
So we try, if we know in advance that that's that type of business, we will ask them in advance, is there a partner or somebody you'd like us to place you near so you can, right?
That's smart.
And that's been very helpful. So that comes with years of understanding what the businesses are as well. It takes me, and people don't get this, takes hours and hours and hours to pick the spaces. And I don't just pick like, I want him here. It doesn't work that way. People put me in a good spot. No, I can't do that. I want the same spot as last year. Nobody gets the same spot as last year. It doesn't work that way. It's very much here's the 112 spots. Here are the less visible spots, let's say. Those go to, organizations and non-private sector businesses. So the colleges, the associations, those types of things, we'll put in those. Because at the end of the day, you're fortunate to be there, and we're making it available at a very affordable rate. So, but that's kind of how we do it, is we kind of select that way, and then the balance, I throw them in a randomizer, and
oh really?
Yeah. And then I put them like that, and then I start moving them based on, oh well, those are competition, or I know that person used to work there, and they don't get, but that's the knowledge.
It's
right?
a wedding seating chart
It
almost.
absolutely,
Yeah, yeah.
100%. It's
Yeah.
you know, there's some history there. Maybe
Yeah,
that person is now dating his ex-wife. Like you know, honestly, it goes to
yeah.
that level. But if you-
personal relationships.
yeah, so you know you have to keep that in mind. But then there's also that other piece of, okay, I know that's a small business. They probably, if they need a meeting or they got to go eat, I don't want them sitting at the booth and right.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure they're with somebody close to them that they can help. And then we give them some other things, but it's not easy. It's a tough part of the gig for sure.
Yeah. Well, I think we're running out of time, but just briefly, if you could, you're going to be golfing later today. Mike is going to be golfing
hence
later
the-
today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quick tip for Mike's golf game for the rest
Oh
of the day.
geez, have
I
fun.
need many,
Have
but
fun.
Have fun. That is actually so good for you.
Yes.
Have fun is perfect.
Don't
because
worry
you-
about it. If you hit one good shot today, you're golden.
I think that is a good benchmark. If I can help my team once.
Yeah, to me, especially if you're in a scramble,
Yeah.
as long as you use yours like once on the front, once on the back, doesn't matter if it's a putt, a drive, whatever, you're golden.
There you
Oh,
go.
and don't make your team look for your ball.
Yeah.
Get over
Yes,
yourself.
no.
Yeah.
I'm notorious for like, if the
Drop the
ball's
ball,
gone,
yeah.
it's gone.
Yeah,
I do
just-
not
no.
want to look for it. It's
Yeah.
embarrassing.
Yes.
Especially if it's like not far off the blocks.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah,
we're good.
no,
Just
you're
keep
good.
going.
If you can see
keep
it,
going.
sure, but
Yeah.
don't go in the forest looking for your ball.
Yeah.
Marla, thanks so much for joining us
Thanks,
today. It
guys.
was great to have you
It's a lot
on,
of fun.
and we're looking to see what else is coming up with MineConnect.
Yeah, great. Thanks so much. It was
Thank you.
honestly a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Awesome.